choose a vacation place to go. And this is back in the days when there were all the Jewish hotels, kosher hotels and stuff. And it worked out one of a couple of different ways. My dad worked for himself, so if he took off work, the business went down. So my mother would sometimes take the train here for 2 weeks, we'd go for 2 weeks. And after a week, my dad would drive, meet us, and we'd all drive home. Sometimes, any number of different scenarios. But I remember getting up way early in the morning, because the trains came through Pittsburgh very early in the morning, and getting on the Trailblazer to go to Atlantic City in a chair car.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
And then my mother, the story I heard years later, was she got mad at my dad, and she decided to go visit her aunt and uncle in San Francisco. So she grabbed me mid-school break, took me out of school a few days early, and we went to San Francisco on the train from Pittsburgh, all in a chair car.
When I was
8 years old. It didn't make a difference to me. I was excited.
When I was 9 years old, and it was 1964, my parents decided to take a big trip. So we were living in LA. We had a 3-week trip to the East Coast and back. That was the year when the World's Fair was in Flushing. So we went to the World's Fair and back, and along the way we stopped in various cities. We stopped in St. Louis for a couple of days. We stopped in Washington. We stopped in Wilmington, Delaware, and then New York, Boston. And then on the way back, we didn't stop. All this by train. And and I was 9 years old. I had never been on like a long-term trip. It was fun. And we were in, big deal, right? We were in a dome liner car.
Oh.
So the dome liner car, had seats on one end and seats on the other, and then they had unreserved area in the middle for this big, plastic dome.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful thing.
Oh, I remember, I was 8 years old when we did it in the early 50s. It was an exciting thing to me. I remember to this day going through the snow sheds in the High Sierras.
Yeah.
And I remember going across the Great Salt Lake. And we did that again on the trip to San Francisco.
Yeah. Now, the train to San Francisco, don't they stop at Columbus?
No, they go through Columbus, but they don't stop there.
Oh, I thought that they had.
Maybe they changed it. We haven't looked at the schedule for a while. But I remember going through Columbus and said, oh, there's a station in Columbus.
Yeah. But you can, I've looked into it, and I can take a train from Columbus to San Francisco.
How long ago was that?
Year and a half.
Oh, maybe they changed it.
Yeah.
Maybe they not decided.
I mean, if you
goes for a different route.
if you tell them you're getting on the Columbus, they actually stop. They know that someone has to get off and stop. Otherwise, they don't.
And then if we're going west to like Seattle or Tacoma or Portland or any of those places, the train goes the northern route and it goes through Baraboo. So it's a lot easier, and they have free parking in Baraboo.
Oh, that's good.
Just leave your car up there at the station, get on and off the train there.
Sounds perfect.
Because Tam has a friend that lived in St. Cloud, and she called up Amtrak and they said, oh, for Madison, you get up to Columbus. Well, here's Baraboo, here's Columbus, here's Wisconsin, Madison. They were having to go all the way here to go back. And I got a straight
oftentimes a race to the finish line to get things done before.
It's all what you can get, all what you expect.
Makes you then appreciate
Right.
Shabbat all that much more.
That's a lot weird.
A little bit of both. Actually, because once the preparation has been done for this service,
Yeah, fraternity.
I'm
Last time I heard that.
yeah, it's fun. And when I say a lot of things to get done before Shabbat, I don't necessarily even mean service. It's not to say that we don't.
So is this too far forward for you? We can always move that one.
Sunday school.
But what's nice about here is
that kind of stuff.
Irving, if you don't sleep like
Did you get my email?
Not as much preparation for the agenda for that.
it's a non-issue. I never expected anything.
And so did Badger.
Badger Cab was bought by Green.
Which one?
Last Friday.
Just needed a day to
When I called them up, the number still
get
active.
pressure.
They
And
answered different.
we're expecting the hill event.
And I asked about it, but it used to be our name. We're now a service for
earlier than when I typically would like to be having my mid-afternoon coffee.
So there's no reason to go early.
Okay.
Yes, it must be one.
Good.
Rent, instead of that.
Need to get a clear look.
And I have.
How about down here?
Well, just to the airport.
Rabbi, how are you? Oh, good.
She did Christmas.
The thing that,
For observing you guys in front.
I looked at the
I
plan.
mean, I think what we're trying to do is to have something on.
And we can park in a ranch for $10 a day. Park in a Thursday.
An ollie
Round them up, park them up, park them for $8 a day.
We have access to that information into so we know if one can access your building, whether it is registered or something. I haven't tried. I
So we should
don't know.
be gone for 7 days.
It's a question just like about shoe cloud and the way that our website works.
$10 is
I think
$70.
we should go the
That's
answer to. I mean,
$250.
I have admin privilege. I can see what everybody, each one of you think that you should at least be able to tell whether or not you're registered for something.
Right.
So it would have been cheaper this contract than what I could do.
Worst case scenario, if we call the office
Breaking
and or send us
Yeah, okay.
ask us,
But then
you'll be able to get that.
my neighbor said they were busing for We'll take them out to dinner or do something.
It's a good tech question, off the top of my head. No, I don't.
2 weeks
No,
ago.
I know. I haven't had to access, the cloud account as a non-admin, so.
On every congressperson and every congressperson's house.
Is the color coordination of the mask and sweater.
Okay.
So it's a very
Actually, the airport is green tab. So I think it's about $38, $39. It was $40 for the day. But, that's okay, so it's like $80.
Nice. We've met. Yeah, hi.
I know, in his transit, and plus we went to the airport, and it was on such a schedule of one of those weeknights, hotel lunch. So you could always take a bus down. It's a lot further from downtown Pittsburgh to the airport. Than it is here.
You like to what?
Technically,
Most people,
whenever
I have to say that
first
someone said it,
calls the court,
he's a little
we're
Virgo.
gonna be like.
But I can understand how it might Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Oh, very loud. We want to welcome you all on this beautiful Erev Shabbat, on this nice, beautiful, crisp fall night. Welcome you who are visiting us in our sanctuary, welcoming you who are with us online this evening. So wonderful to have you. Sit back, join one another in this community of friendship, in this community of worship, in this community of togetherness on this beautiful night.
We'll start warming up our voices a little bit with a nigun, with a melody, with no words at all, so that we can just start to create some space, some sacred space with one another. We've done this nigun, but it's been a while, so we might need to get reacquainted a little bit, and I'll help with that. So listen first, and then we'll sing together. Yai lai, yai lai lai lai, ya da lai da lai 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 lai. Yai lai, yai lai lai lai, ya da lai da lai 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 lai. We're gonna learn that a little bit together. Listen for a little bit. Yai lai, yai da da lai. Yai lai, lai 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 lai. Ya da lai da lai 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 lai. Ya da lai da lai 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 lai. Yai lai, ya da lai lai. Yai lai, lai 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 lai. Ya da lai da lai 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 lai. Ya da lai 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 lai. The next one is just the same thing, except of going yai lai. We're gonna go yai lai. I think we can do it all together. Yai lai, yai lai lai lai, ya da lai da lai 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 lai. Yai lai, lai 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 lai, ya da lai da lai 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 lai. There's only one more part. Third part goes like this. Ya da da, ya da da. Try that. Ya da da, ya da da. Yai lai da da da. Yai lai da da da. Ya da da, ya da da. Ya da da, ya da da. Yai lai da da. Yai lai da da. We'll try it one more time. Yai lai da da. Yai dai dai dai. Ya da da, ya da da. Yai dai da da da. Ya da da, ya da da. Yai dai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Ya da dai da dai 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 dai. Yai dai, yai dai dai dai. Ya da dai da dai 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 dai. Yai dai, yai dai dai dai. Ya da dai da dai 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 dai. Yai dai, yai dai dai dai. Ya da dai da dai 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 dai. Ya da dai, ya da dai. Yai dai da da dai. Ya da dai, ya da dai. Yai dai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Ya da dai da dai 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 dai. Yai lai dai 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 dai. Ya da dai da dai 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 dai.
At this time of year, all of God's munificence is everywhere before our eyes, and the harvest that graces our tables and the markets and outdoors, in the knowledge that we acquire through scientific inquiry and through the observations we make in the world, through the love that binds one human being to another, whether you're part of a physical family or whether you're part of the human family, and through the stubborn spirit of human determination that is the really the product of each of our hearts, because each of us is on a mission. Each of us is on a journey in our lives. Where that journey will lead us, we sometimes don't know, despite what we hope. This week in the Torah portion, we read about the voyage of Noah. Noah did not know exactly where his journey would take him. But Noah had determination, the gratitude, and the spirit to pursue that journey, which was part of his heritage and part of his life. We tonight gather on this Shabbat, as we do each week, to celebrate the spirit of rest. Because after a full week, here we are together in this community, ready to worship, ready to relax, ready to sing, ready to think, ready to study, ready to be with one another. On page 129 in our prayer books, tonight we begin with Ki Eshmerah Shabbat. Ki Eshmerah Shabbat is a song regarding our spirit that we preserve for ourselves by our observing this day of rest. It's the second song from the bottom of the page on 129. Yishmerah Shabbat El Yishmereini Oti Le'omead Beino Uveini 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 The Torah tells us that when Noah was told to build that ark that would save animals, save humanity, save all flesh that was alive on the earth, God told Noah to put a skylight in this ark. Just one, actually. But that skylight was supposed to provide light for the creatures in this ark, and there were a lot of them, as one could imagine. That was to provide light for them all. Torah suggests, therefore, that we do have windows to see outward, to see the world, perhaps windows even inside to see inside ourselves, if not within other people. And the light that is within ourselves is really the light that God created. And on this Shabbat, we begin our worship really earnest by offering lights and by offering gratitude to God to give us those lights. Who can look directly into the light? We can behold only a small portion, a fragment of that light. And when that one light is fragmented, the colors of the rainbow result. So let us give thanks for the colors that are ours. All of them are part of the one light we are all bathed in, the one light that is our fountain of life. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Page 120 in the prayer book.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
I want to invite you to turn to page 337. We go forward in the prayer book, and we'll come back to the early part of the prayer book again. But on 337 is something I'd like us all to read as we begin our worship here tonight. We read together at the top of page 337. Prayer is not purely an act. All things pray, and all things pour forth their souls. The heavens pray, the earth prays, every creature and every living thing. In all life there is longing. Creation is itself but a longing, a kind of prayer to the Almighty. What are the clouds, the rising and the setting of the sun, the soft radiance of the moon and the gentleness of the night? What are the flashes of the human mind and the storms of the human heart? They are all prayers, the wordless outpouring of boundless longing for God. Page 134, we return back to the earlier part of our prayer book. And we offer tonight, as you will hear, certain kinds of themes, melodies that talk of water. Think of water, perhaps, as we engage in worship.
Starting 5 lines from the top. Yiram Hayam. Yiram Hayam umelo.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Tivel v'yoshveiva. Yiram Hayam umelo. Yiram Hayam umelo.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Tivel v'yoshveiva.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Neharot imcha uchaf yerelelelelele. Yachararim yiraneinu. Neharot imcha uchaf yerelelelelele. Yachararim yiraneinu. Neharot imcha uchaf. Neharot imcha uchaf yerelelelelele. Yachararim yiraneinu. Neharot imcha uchaf yerelelelelele. Yachararim yiraneinu. Yiram hayam umelo.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Yiram hayam umelo.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Tivel v'yoshveiva. Yiram hayam umelo. Neharot imcha uchaf yerelelelele. Yachararim yiraneinu. Neharot imcha uchaf yerelelelele. Yachararim yiraneinu. Yiram hayam umelo.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Yiram hayam umelo.
Yiram Hayam umelo.
Tivel v'yoshveiva.
Yiram Hayam umelo. On page 138, Lecha Dodi, this prayer welcoming the Shabbat into our community. Tonight we'll offer verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And at verse 9, the last verse, we rise and we face the door in honor of Shabbat as she comes to visit us on this beautiful weekend. Page 138, we have the refrain, and then verse 1.
Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, טיבה עורר קומי אורי, אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה.
For those of you who know the ocean, we know how much that sound, that roaring of waves, takes us and attracts us to those moments when we are able to be by the shore. It could be a lake for all I know, but the oceans reverberate with the sounds. On page 141, we continue with Nasa'u. I think it's the fifth line down from the top, Cantor?
It's the whole bottom paragraph.
Whole bottom paragraph, thank you.
But we'll start with that same melody that we got into our bones a bit at the beginning. Yai, lai, 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 la lai la lai 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 lai. Yai lai yai lai lai lai. Ya la lai la lai 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 lai. Yai lai yai lai lai lai. Ya la lai la lai 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 lai. Yai lai yai lai lai lai. Ya la lai la lai 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 lai. Ya la lai ya la lai. Yai lai la la lai. Ya la lai ya la lai. Yai lai lai lai. Nas'u neharot Adonai, nas'u neharot kolam. Nas'u neharot Adonai, nas'u neharot kolam. Nas'u neharot Adonai, nas'u neharot dohyam. We're going to try that again, fitting all the text in there. Nas'u neharot Adonai, nas'u neharot kolam. Nas'u neharot Adonai, yizu neharot dohyam. Part goes like this. Mikolot mayim rabim adirim mishpereyam. Mikolot mayim rabim adir bamarom Adonai. Mikolot. Mikolot mayim rabim adirim mishpereyam. Mikolot mayim rabim Adir b'marom Adonai. Yadadai, 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 yadadai. Eidotecha ne'emnu me'od. Nava Kodesh Adonai leorech yamim. Eidotecha, Eidotecha ne'emnu me'od. Leveitcha Nava Kodesh Adonai leorech yamim. Yadadai, 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 yadadai,
If you think about surging water, you know that water can go fast, it can go slow. Sometimes if we're homeowners, we have great concerns about the water in our system. And I see a lot of grins on our faces here tonight. Water, like life, can flow. It can go fast, it can go slow, it can take us, and it can cause us to stop. And we can go with the flow, we can go against the flow. But life, like water, continues. Life always seeks, however, we, through life, can seek higher levels, just as water, just as different from water, which tends to seek lower levels. May all the levels of life that we seek elevate us, and may we find great satisfaction in the flows and surges and the stoppings and the flowings of the life force that is through us. We continue with the beginning of Ma'ariv, the beginning of our formal worship service. On page 146, we continue with Baruch Hu, a psalm of praise. We invite everyone to rise. Page 146.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
On page 148, we read together at the middle of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
El Chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravi.
Amen. We continue together at the top of page 150.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shofeinu u'v'kumeinu Nasiach b'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki heim chayenu Ve'orech yameinu Ve'orech yameinu Uvahem negeh yomam v'layla, yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim, Baruch ata Adonai. Ohev amo Yisrael.
Amen. Page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. We continue together at the top of 154.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, vedibarta bam, veshivtecha beveitecha, uvelechtecha vaderech, uveshochbecha, uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtavtam, Al mezuzot beitecha uvish'arecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem emet.
On this Erev Shabbat, we thank God not only for the issues of creation that we see before us, not only for the learning that we offer and that we receive through the reading and the study of Torah, but also through the gift of freedom. Freedom of the human spirit, freedom that we provide for ourselves within our own community, even our own families, and freedom that we offer other people when we see other people oppressed and enslaved. We continue with a song of freedom on page 158. Micha Mocha, page 158.
Yai, lai, yai, dai, dai, lai, ya, da, dai, da, dai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, yai, dai, dai, lai, ya, da, dai, da, dai, 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 lai. Micha mocha, micha mocha, ba'elim Adonai. Micha mocha, Nedar b'kodesh, micha mocha, micha mocha, ba'elim Adonai. Micha mocha, Nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot, osef eleh. Nora tehilot, osef eleh. Nora, Nora tehilot, osef eleh. Nora tehilot, osef eleh. Yadadai, 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 yadadai. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, mokei hayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam. Ze'eli anu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Yadadai, 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 ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלום יד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. Hashkivenu is a prayer that comes next, and Hashkivenu is only sung in the evening. It is a prayer seeking divine protection from the dangers that may lurk out there at night, with the hope that we rise tomorrow, strength restored and spirit renewed to be able to face the world yet another day. Tonight, I hope that you all have a program, because Hashkivenu, the text for Hashkivenu tonight, is on page 4 of our supplements tonight. And if you are with us online, you can click on the link for our program, and you can find that again on page 4 of the program, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen.
We are grateful, God, for the courage you have placed within us. We are also mindful of the fears and the anxieties about life that we harbor in ourselves. So keep us focused for our work in the world. Allow us to be present for those who depend upon us most. Remind us of our responsibilities for humanity, and give us joy to face the world each day fresh with the possibilities of our power and our presence.
Baruch Atah Adonai Haporei Sukat Shalom Aleinu Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen. 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 Amen.
On page 164 begins the tefillah. And as I oftentimes like to offer, the word tefillah comes from an ancient root that implies introspection, because this is our opportunity to look inside ourselves, not anyone else, just to look inside ourselves and to make sure that we are the best person that we can be. And if we find ourselves deficient, it's likely that we can find ways to improve. That is the hope, at least for humanity. The tefillah begins here on page 164, and we invite everyone to rise. Page 164.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agite ilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Page 166.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasarim Tovim,
וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Page 168.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
Amen. Page 170.
אתה קדוש בשמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Amen. You may be seated. It is said that religion embraces both faith and action. The primary quality is action because it lays a foundation for faith. So the more good that we do, the better faith we have perhaps in God or the people around us, or, God willing, for both. And the more readily do we believe that the world improves by our actions and our faith. We now offer a time of quiet prayer, and we will be concluding that quiet prayer on page 5 of our supplement tonight in the program. So sort of have that ready, but now we offer just time for ourselves to be with our own thoughts and our own strengthening as perhaps our goal.
you're still continuing in your own prayers, that's absolutely fine. Encourage you to continue. If you want to join in, if and when you get the tune into your bones and into your voice, you can. Or if you want, you can also just listen for a moment, and then we'll join together in a prayer for peace. Shavtem mayim bisason mimayne hayeshuah. 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 Cry out, O Zion, the Holy One will hear your song. Cry out, O Zion, the Holy One will sing along. Shavtem mayim bisason mimayne hayeshuah. 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 Mimayne hayeshuah. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel.
Shabbat Shalom. I have often heard people say that the only bad publicity is no publicity, usually intoned by people who are notorious or infamous or who wish to double down on their infamy. This phrase suggests that they believe that due to their talents or their mission or their heart's desire, perhaps, they deserve more than their allotted 15 minutes of fame, whatever that might mean. Anyway, this might be the case about the man who last night senselessly and brutally attacked Paul Pelosi in his San Francisco home. It is likely also the motto that Elon Musk and a former U.S. president use when they daily seek publicity and attention. Some people just can't resist being constantly in the limelight, whether for good or for ill. Now, contrast this ostentatious approach with that of Noah, the hero, the main character in this week's Torah portion that bears his name, Parashat Noach. As you see, if you look at page 3 in the little program that we handed out tonight, Melissa Osborne found a beautiful illumination from an ancient text that has the beginning of the Torah portion from a handwritten text that was, from the Middle Ages or before. But I also provided us the opening of this week's parashah. And the Torah, as we can see, describes Noah in 3 ways. Bless you. The Torah says this, that Noah walked about with God. Well, they weren't drinking buddies exactly, but certainly they were entities who frequently associated with one another. Secondly, Noah was a righteous man. No further clarification on that is necessary. And Noah was what in Hebrew is called tamim, a word which is difficult to translate unambiguously. As you can see, I provided 3 translations for our consideration. The word tamim could imply that he was pure and innocent. He could also be blameless, a word that I think to me is unclear. Perhaps it means that he was totally innocent, perhaps inexperienced. I think that Noah was certainly naive in many ways for a man living in his era. Now, the words tamim, this innocence, or tzaddik, righteous, these words are surely not associated with someone who craves publicity in many cases. Yet, despite these monikers of wholesome value for Noah, Noah actually led a difficult and a tumultuous life. Destined to spend 120 years, according to the Midrash, constructing that ark, and spending 6 months in the ark, combined with smelly, demanding animals. Later in his life, succumbing to alcoholism and needing to abide the questionable morality or the questionable moral quality of one of his 3 sons. His more than 600-year lifespan was difficult, but his life experience teaches us perhaps something about what it means to be a virtuous person in an era of moral and civic corruption. I'm sure we can learn a lot from Noah about how we can live better in this era of ours when we ourselves deal with difficult personalities and difficult communal and societal trends and occurrences that some fear could lead to the dissolution of our society. And this is what being a biblical character, I think, is all about, teaching us, even by negative examples, better ways to behave, better ways to live. Let's look for a moment at the story of Noah. But let's look a little grand. Can we imagine gods, any God, our God and other people's God, can we imagine gods who would create a world and then destroy it because they didn't like what they created? Another question, was humanity truly powerless against and uninterested in God's fateful decree when God said that God was going to drown all the living creatures on earth? Another question, did God offer humanity a genuine opportunity to save itself? Or was Noah's construction project a ruse offered to distract and deny while God had other plans for the whole world? I think all of these questions are brought about by the story of Noah and the flood, Noah's ark, and the tumultuous aftermath of the destruction of the world in that story. So now imagine something else. Imagine a man like Noah who knows that he bears the responsibility of preserving human and animal life. Consider the weight of accountability that this status forces upon him or anyone in his life, in your life, in our lives. Think about the project engineer who has to concern himself with what the end will look like. He has to concern himself with supply chain issues, pestering subcontractors, as well as the sinful society around him that he was trying to change, that he was trying to influence. That's a lot for one individual to bear. When has any of us really faced a task like that? Since humanity's behavior was the primary problem that Noah was supposed to right and solve, let's examine that aspect for a moment. Noah's job, according to the Midrash, was to build this ark, but it was to take 120 years. Now, for one person to create a vessel of some kind that was about 450 feet long and 150 feet wide and maybe 90 feet high, that was going to take a long time. Again, he's in this for himself. The idea was during that 120-year period, people would see the structure growing in his backyard, and then maybe they would ask him what's going on back there. And Noah was then supposed to take that opportunity in his pure and innocent, maybe naive and maybe too passive of a life, to change the society and prevent the flood and change the world. But we learned through the Midrash that no one listened to Noah. No one believed that they were in trouble. No one knew that that fate was coming toward them, and they didn't believe Noah. And the Midrash has this sort of dialogue going on. These people who stopped by his house to ask about the ark, they said to him, "Hey, old man," and they called him old man, "why are you building this ark?" Noah responds, "Well, God is bringing a flood upon you, don't you know?" They said back to him, "A flood? A flood of what? If it's a flood of fire, we have fireproofed material. And if it's a flood of water, one that bubbles up from the ground, well, we have iron plates with which we can seal up all those cracks in the earth to prevent the flooding and prevent the leaking. And if God brings water from the heavens, we have material that will absorb water." Those are pretty bright people back 1,800 years ago when those stories were written, right? Noah was persistent, however, with them, and we need to give him credit. He responded, "Look, if God desires, water could come up from between your toes. Believe me, you can't do anything to stop it." But they didn't listen to him. They laughed at him. They turned aside, and they went on their way. And then Noah breaks down. Noah turns aside. We observe his true frustration. And he, of course, citing the book of Job, a book that would be written 200 or more years, maybe 2,000 or more years ahead of him in time, or further in time than he lived, he cites the book of Job, and he says, "Look, like Job, I am such a meaningless person. I am a joke. I am useless here. I call out to God as if God would answer me. I am righteous, but I have become a naive laughingstock. If I am a torch that is supposed to bear a shining vision for the future, my light serves only dishonorably, as if I could possibly be a courageous compass to those whose steps, like those fools who just passed by my house, could I be a compass to them whose steps are uncertain." And unlike the people of Nineveh during the time of the later prophet of Jonah, who immediately repented when they were told how sinful they were, this antediluvian generation was immovable, was sinful, was totally out of step with God's program. And Noah was despondent. And one of the problems with Noah was that he showed it. He grew less confident in himself, and he let that shine through. His annoyance and his sadness was palpable. His temper grew short. He could be no example, no leader, no social influencer at all. However, when you read the plain text of Torah, you also see that the cards were really stacked against Noah, and he was frankly too naive to even know that. He was not able to perceive the roadblocks in the way. You see, when you read the plain text of the story of Noah, you see that God had already sealed the fate of humanity even before noticing Noah's potential to be a helper. God's disdain for humanity grew from the clear confession. We knew this because God confessed that humanity did not turn out as the Holy One had anticipated. God had made mistakes in creation. God simply had to wipe out the world and start over again, mostly. Even after the flood, Noah saved humanity, but God still admitted that humanity was incorrigible, contemptible, even unredeemable. As I mentioned earlier, the rabbis of our tradition were in constant debate about what the word tamim was, that word that means innocent, pure, naive, foolish, who knows? And certainly what it means in this context, we're not exactly sure. But if anything were true, it would be that despite Noah's righteousness, which is a word that is very clear in the text, both Noah and God were prone to miscommunication, assuming too much. And one of the problems was that Noah acted too passively. Again, Noah stood by his ark to show it rather than to say, I'm going out into society and I'm going to touch people where they are and I'm going to make them see the fate of the world. Noah just stood by his ark and showed it like a museum piece. And so this is somewhat of a problem. And perhaps this is, too, why the story went as it did. After all, Noah complained about his failures when the job was not finished, and his lack of confidence was stupendous. If Noah was the most righteous person in the world at that time, according to Torah, then perhaps we can have an idea of how bad the world really was. And again, if only building an ark and just hoping that people would stop by, if he thought that that was the solution, that's not leadership. That's not stepping forward and talking with people and engaging with them and letting people see what's truly behind the building of the ark. And despite those lapses, Noah still serves for us as an example of persistence and moxie, chutzpah even. During and after the flood, Noah reestablished the line of humanity, and he served as a vital link in that chain of humanity. Also, he was not a seeker of prestige. He didn't have to go out and publicize his ark to the world, or what he did with the ark after the world was recreated. He did realize that every step he took was just one step towards some future goal of progress. And even if he didn't achieve that goal in his lifetime, he knew that somehow that arc of history always bent toward a positive end. In our parlance, that arc of history always bears toward justice and toward rightness. And so he believed that even small steps accounted for something. And even though our acts of changing the world require more than a passive invitation, our concerns can still inspire others to act. Our actions in the world, as perhaps as grand as they are or as small as they are, those actions can still inspire other people to change positively. Each of us can, of course, take larger strides in our life, but every one of our steps is valuable and crucial. May it be that way for us, and may we find better ways and excellent ways to help change the world around us. Shabbat Shalom. We'd like to invite you to turn to page 371 in the prayer book. So on page 371, in the middle of the page, there is a prayer for healing. We don't understand exactly how God is involved in the healing process, but we do know that when a person who is ill understands that a community like this one is praying on their behalf, we know that that allows them to feel good about this support and maybe allows them to increase the healing powers and supplement the healing powers that God has placed within them, that God has placed within us all. We have close to 100 people on our healing list tonight from Temple Bethel, and so I won't read their names tonight to us, but I can tell you that we now offer times for each of us in this community of comfort to offer names of people whom we are thinking about, people in our circle of family or friends who need a prayer for healing and wholeness. And if you would like to offer a name, I'm going to scan around the community and invite you to add a name to our minds and our hearts so that we can carry that burden with you. Beich, Bruce Greenbaum. Are there other people we should be thinking about tonight? Dear God, aloud and in our hearts, we name those facing illness and pain. We join our prayers to the prayers of all who love them. On page 371 here at the middle, we continue. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We continue our worship on page 586. Aleinu is a prayer of obligation. I'm sorry, thank you very much. Page 123. Page 123, I'm on some other plan, I guess. But on page 123 is the Kiddush for this era of Shabbat, for this evening of Shabbat, where we thank God for the sanctity of this day, and we bless God for allowing us to share in this day. Page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodeshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat
L'chaim. On page 586 is a prayer, Aleinu. It is a prayer where we take upon ourselves, or we remind ourselves that we have an obligation to all and so many of the values that we offer here tonight. We rise for Aleinu on page 586. We invite you to rise.
Aleinu
Shabeach Adon HaKol, Lateit Gedula Leotzer Bereshit, Shehu Noteh Shamayim Veyosed Aretz, Umoshav Yikaro, Bashamayim Mima'al, Ushchinat Uzo Begovhei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Ein Od. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. You may be seated, and we continue together on page 589. Please join me at the top. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever, on page 591.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of the righteous always be a blessing. In our worship now, we pause and we remember those people who were part of our lives but now have died and they have gone to a different place. And they are no longer with us in the physical world, but their memories and their actions and their love still resides in our hearts. These are people who might have died in the last 30 days, and these are people whose anniversary of their passing occurs at this time of the year. If you are present tonight in the morning, or you're observing a yahrzeit, we invite you to rise as the name of your loved one is recited, and then you'll be joined by the whole community as we continue then with the mourners Kaddish. These are those whom we've taken into our hearts with our own. Our community's recent losses, we recall Sandy Corbin, sister-in-law of Stu Monshine and Ruth Frawley. And we are also remembering these yahrzeit at this time. In continuing love and dedication to that which they gave us, we remember Elaine Melnick Bongar, Julia Bove, Mary Center, Charles H. Charnowitz, Robert S. Chasen, Anthony DiTullio, Mortimer Epstein, Barbara Juster Espenson, Jean E. Fine, Mary Duville Frawley, Mary Gold, Danielle Gorin, Esther Halperin, Harriet Klein Starkey, Craig M. Lamb, Harry Michaels, Johann Peidelstein, Dorothy Silver Prusak, Dorothy Reisman, Dora Rich, Howard Scheibel, Berdine Schindler, Sidney I. Siegel, Sally Silverberg Jacobs, Max H. Spahn, Herb Starkey, Florence Weisman, Mia Waltz, and Lawrence A. Weinstein. We also remember others, people who might be in your minds tonight, whose names were not on the Kaddish list, but still their memory lives with us every day. And so if you would like to add names to the Kaddish list tonight, we invite you to do so.
John Yonder. Jack Gustafson.
Ben Jacobs.
And are there others whom we are remembering tonight? Testifying to the faith, then, that binds the generations of humanity together, we now invite the community to turn to page 598, and we rise as one community to recite these words of the mourner's Kaddish, remembering those who came before us and thanking God for the opportunity to share their love and their contributions in our lives. Page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal, shemei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol bir chata v'shirata, tushbechata d'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imeru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imeru, amen. May God send peace to all who mourn and comfort those who remember on this night. And we say, amen. Please be seated. In a few moments, our worship will conclude, and when it does, we are invited out to the Weinstein Community Court, where we will enjoy an Oneg Shabbat tonight, sponsored by our sisterhood, the Women of Reformed Judaism, who is with us almost every weekend sponsoring these wonderful receptions. They are with us at Foodorama, and I need to remind you that you need to order for Foodorama by the end of the day Sunday. By the end of the day Monday, that's the 31st. So Foodorama, as you know, is Tuesday, November 8th. It's election day as well. So vote and then come here for lunch. But you have to order lunch first. So please be sure to do that. But we thank the sisterhood, as always, for their contributions to our community. Thank you to Mona Statz, who was greeting us tonight. Thank you to Summer Koff, who operated our tech tonight. Thank you, Cantor Nami, for being a wonderful Bima partner. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We also want to welcome the Academy members of various police forces and police departments from all over South Central Wisconsin. Linda Berman, who shared with them tonight and is helping them lead them through the community tonight. Yes, you had your hand up?
I was just waving.
Oh, okay, thank you, good, good. I thought you wanted to add something, which was fine too. Linda, thank you so much for bringing these fine folks here tonight and helping them to learn something about our community and what we do. Appreciate always your teaching for our community. Thank you. Some brief other announcements. First of all, a few COVID announcements. As you know, at Bethel, we do encourage people to wear masks, depending upon your tolerance and your level of risk, that some people will and some people won't. And we do ask people to respect the choices that one another make regarding being masked here on the temple grounds or wherever you go. We also encourage people to receive proper vaccinations and boosters as you are eligible. If, by the way, you test positive for COVID-19 within 5 days of being here at our synagogue, we request that you call in and let us know. You can call in and speak to our executive director, and she will then let anybody know, anonymously and confidentially, she will let anybody know who was here tonight that someone here tonight tested positive. And if you would like to get a call like that, in case someone does test positive and call us, please sign your name on the contact tracing form that is outside on one of the round tables in the foyer of our building here. So I hope that that's clear. A few other future announcements. Tomorrow morning, there will be Torah study at 9 o'clock, led by Steve Olson. Torah study is both in person and online on Zoom, and you can acquire that registration and the login information at our website. At 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, there will be the bar mitzvah of Samuel Spector, so you can join us for community then as well. Next Friday evening will be, next Friday, if you know any first graders, by the way, in our religious school program, next Friday at 3 o'clock is a Shabbat Kef day, which is, the word Kef is a word that means fun, and it means sort of just having a good time. So our first graders are coming here next Friday at 3 o'clock for some fun, and then they'll stay probably for worship, which next Friday is at 6 o'clock, led by Cantor Nami and Nicole Jar, our Director of Lifelong Learning. So that's our Shabbalala service, a service that's an intergenerational service of fun and story and song. Please come to visit us for that as well. A few long-term announcements. Again, Foodorama, November 8th. You need to make your reservations by close of day, Monday, the 31st of October. Upcoming will be the Swarsensky Memorial Weekend beginning on Thursday evening, November 10th, and then that whole following weekend. Come study with us. And a little bit longer range. On Saturday, November 19th, in addition to Torah study at 9 o'clock, there will be Cafe Shabbat at 10 o'clock that day here in the building, and where you'll get a chance to have a cup of coffee and some bagel and cream cheese perhaps. And then at 10:30 will be Tfilat Shabbat, a Saturday morning worship service that is warm, welcoming, informal, and just lovely. We'll probably sit in a circle. It'll be led by Niles Berman, I understand. And so, and I'm sure Cantor Nami and others will provide some music, right? Yeah, so please join Cantor Nami and Niles Berman for that. I'll be there too. And join our community as we try to make a Shabbat morning happen here at Temple Bethel. For more information about those or anything else that is happening, you can see our website, tbemadison.org, for further details. We now would like you to turn back to the supplements on page 5.
Yes. So as we've been exploring, I think in a lot of different ways, this sense of feeling of those flowing waters, and thinking about in this Torah portion this week where they were a source of destruction, and maybe trying to imagine them being a source of blessing and joy instead, knowing that water can be a source of either. So we're going into this winter season. Sometimes also forms of precipitation we might receive can be sources of either blessing or not. So we'll sing Ushavtem Mayim Bisason. You might have learned at one point a different tune for this. This is a beautiful melody by Dan Nichols. So we'll sing a little bit of it together. Ushavtem Mayim Bisason Imayne HaYeshuah. 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 Ushavtem Mayim Bisason bisason mimayne Yeshua. Shavtem ma'im 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 bisason mimayne Yeshua. Mimayne Yeshua.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.